3 months ago, while on a delivery run, I saved a girl from drowning. I pulled her onto the riverbank, and once I made sure she was breathing, I left without giving my name. I thought that would be the end of it. I never expected the girl I saved to be Clara Sinclair, a massive online influencer with millions of followers. 3 months later, her mother was standing in front of a wall of cameras, tears streaming down her face. 3 months ago, my daughter was sexually assaulted while swimming in a river, she said. Now she's pregnant. I'm offering a $1 million reward for any information leading to the capture of that monster. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on the toilet in my cramped studio apartment when the story broke. On my phone screen, a live stream had over 100,000 viewers. The woman, Regina Thorne, was crying for the camera. The rumors were true. My daughter Clara had been seen by fans in an OB-GYN clinic. I'm going live today to set the record straight, Regina said, her voice cracking, to give her followers the explanation they deserve. 3 months ago, Clara was swimming in the river when a monster posing as a food delivery driver assaulted her and got her pregnant. My mind went blank, drowned out by a flood of hateful comments scrolling across the screen. 3 months ago, I had just dropped off an order when I heard someone screaming for help. I dove into the river and pulled the girl out. I never dreamed that the girl I saved was Clara Sinclair. And I certainly never imagined that 3 months later, I'd be accused of being the monster who assaulted her. On the screen, Regina clutched Clara, trembling as she screamed into the camera. To all of you watching, I'm offering a $1 million reward. If you could provide a single clue that helps us find this animal, I, Regina Thorne, give you my word. And then, almost casually, she shifted topics. Speaking of giving my word, I'd like to recommend this amazing new skincare product. I couldn't hear the rest. $1 million reward. For that kind of money, people would dig up my family's graves. I snapped back to reality and glanced at the comment section. It was a cesspool of rage. Oh my God, they have to catch this creep, $1 million. Let's go, boys. Time to get rich. He's a delivery driver. Someone give me a list of every driver in the city. A chill ran down my spine. My hands and feet went ice cold. I had always thought of myself as a good person, a guy just doing his job. Now, I was the most wanted predator in the city. The situation escalated fast. The next day, a few shady-looking men were lurking outside my Dash Runner dispatch center, snapping photos with their phones. My heart raced. The entire city was hunting me, hungry for that $1 million prize. I didn't dare go out on deliveries. Clara Sinclair's team released a blurry security cam screenshot, the back of a man in a bright red Dash Runner jacket. Just like that, every delivery driver in Chicago became a suspect. One of my coworkers went out to deliver food, and the girl took it from him using a napkin, hissing, "Don't touch me, you pervert." At the dispatch center, our shift supervisor called a meeting, his face grim. "All right, listen up. I want every single one of you on your best behavior. Anyone steps out of line, you'll answer to me." I kept my head down, not daring to make a sound. That evening, Regina Thorne, Clara's manager, did an exclusive interview with a major news network. On the screen, her eyes were filled with venom. "I know that monster is watching right now. You can't hide. I will use every resource at my disposal. I will tear this city apart to find you, and I will make you kneel before my daughter and beg for forgiveness." My blood ran cold. It was only a matter of time before they found me. Turn myself in? Who would believe me? My word, a random delivery driver against a famous influencer? I'd be dead in the water. Sinking into despair, a news alert popped up on my phone. Regina was hosting a thank you gala at the Starlight Grand Hotel to announce the latest developments in the manhunt. A crazy idea sparked in my mind. I couldn't keep hiding, waiting for my life to be destroyed. I had to go to that gala. I had to look them in the eye and ask why they were trying to ruin me. On the day of the gala, I spent the last of my money, $300, on a cheap rented tuxedo. I slipped in with a crowd of reporters and guests. Regina and Clara were the center of attention, surrounded by a sympathetic mob. Regina wore a look of profound grief, while Clara, dressed in a loose-fitting maternity gown, looked fragile and beautiful, drawing pity from everyone. She kept her head bowed, thanking each person for their support, her eyes red-rimmed and puffy. I hid in a corner, my heart hammering against my ribs. This was the person I saved, and she was the person trying to destroy me. The gala began. Regina led Clara onto the stage. First, I want to thank every one of you for your incredible support. Regina's voice echoed through the grand ballroom. I know what you're all here to find out. Where's the monster? Her tone was heavy with sorrow. The police have already identified several key persons of interest. I have full confidence that he will be brought to justice very soon. The crowd erupted in applause. I clenched my fists. Tonight, we also have a special guest with us, Regina said, gesturing to someone in the front row. A man in glasses walked onto the stage. Please welcome one of the nation's foremost experts in criminal psychology, Dr. Alastair Finch. Dr. Finch took the microphone, his voice oozing academic authority. Based on the available information, we can construct a preliminary psychological profile of the suspect. First, it is highly probable this individual comes from a lower socioeconomic background. His life is a landscape of failure, leading to a deeply ingrained inferiority complex. He likely chose a job like a delivery driver as a cover, allowing him to move through the city's shadows unnoticed. I let out a bitter, silent laugh. What a load of crap. Second, he is likely a loner, paranoid, obsessive, and with violent tendencies. He harbors a deep-seated jealousy for those who are more successful and visible than he is. So when he encountered a pure, radiant young woman like Ms. Sinclair, the darkness in his soul was triggered, compelling him to commit this crime. The guests nodded, faces filled with disgust, as if the image of this predator had been etched into their minds. Finally, Dr. Finch said, dropping his voice for effect, this man is at his core a profound coward. He only preys on those he perceives as weaker than himself. After the act, he would scurry away like a rat, even attempting to blend back into society, secretly monitoring the fallout from his crime. It's even possible he is here with us tonight, hiding in this very room. Instantly, hundreds of eyes turned, scanning the crowd. I felt hundreds of needles stabbing into my skin. Then, Clara suddenly covered her mouth and let out a small, retching sound. Regina rushed to her side. Clara, what's wrong? Are you okay? Clara shook her head, her face turning pale. I'm fine, Mom. Just a little nauseous. That single act ignited the room's fury. Find him. Don't let him get away, the crowd screamed. Regina comforted her daughter, but a flicker of cold triumph flashed in her eyes. She grabbed the microphone. You coward. I know you're in here. Show yourself. Stand up. Get on your knees. And apologize to my daughter. Because if I have to find you myself, I guarantee you will regret the day you were born. Seconds ticked by. Silence. No one moved. A cruel smile played on Regina's lips. Fine. Have it your way, she sneered. It seems you won't give up until you're cornered. She snapped her fingers. On the large screen behind the stage, a new security video appeared. It showed a man in a red Dash Runner jacket dragging Clara's unconscious body from the river. The build, the posture, I recognized it immediately. It was me. Regina's voice was ice. While the face is unclear, we have already sent it to a team of forensic experts for high-definition enhancement. In 24 hours at most, we will see your disgusting face, and there will be nowhere left to hide. Her words crashed over me, and I felt myself sinking into despair. Just as I was about to give up, a crucial detail hit me. Dash Runner requires all drivers to have a safety feature enabled on their phones during peak hours, a body cam function. That day, I had just completed a drop-off and hadn't turned it off yet. A wild, desperate plan began to form. If they were going to destroy my life, I would drag them down with me. When no one came forward, Regina seemed to lose patience. She held up Clara, her voice filled with righteous anger. It seems you need a little more motivation to confess. She glanced toward the ballroom entrance. Bring him in. The doors opened, and 2 security guards dragged a man inside. He was wearing the same dash runner uniform as me. His face was bruised and swollen, with a trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth. It was my coworker, Manny, a quiet, middle-aged guy with 2 kids at home, Regina announced. This man is one of our primary suspects. According to their sources, he had been making a delivery in the area on the night of the attack. Manny trembled, shaking his head. It wasn't me. I swear it wasn't me. I was just passing through meeting a friend, he stammered, terrified. Faced with Regina's overpowering presence and the accusatory stares of 100 people, an ordinary man couldn't possibly defend himself. Do you see everyone? Regina scanned the room, fully in control. This is how a monster hides. He weaves a web of lies, trying to confuse and mislead us. But we will not overlook a single shred of doubt. We are turning him over to the police. He will pay for his crimes. Manny collapsed, muttering, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me," over and over. Watching this, rage consumed me. They weren't just trying to destroy me. They were willing to drag an innocent man down with them. They were using a scapegoat to quell the media storm and solidify their status as victims. I couldn't take it anymore. While all eyes were on Manny, I bolted for my corner. I snatched a microphone from a nearby reporter and roared, "Let him go. You've got the wrong guy." The ballroom erupted into chaos. Every camera, every pair of eyes swiveled toward me. The moment Regina Thorne saw my face, her expression twisted. Panic flashed across her features for a split second before it hardened into cold fury. "And who are you?" she demanded. "I'm the one you're looking for," I said, my voice shaking but loud. "I'm the man who saved Clara Sinclair." A dead silence fell over the room. You could hear a pin drop. Seconds later, murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Is that him? The predator? He looks so normal. I can't believe he's that kind of scumbag. Get him. Somebody grab him before he runs." Several security guards started moving toward me. "Wait," Regina commanded, holding up a hand to stop them. She slowly descended from a stage, each step deliberate, closing the distance between us. She stopped right in front of me, looking me up and down with a contemptuous, icy smile. "You're saying you saved my daughter," she said. "Yes," I said, standing my ground, chest out. "Then why don't you tell us all how you saved her?" Her voice dripped with sarcasm and disbelief. I glanced at her, then past her at Clara, who had kept her head down the entire time, refusing to meet my gaze. I laughed. "Ms. Thorne, you seem to be in a big hurry to convict me. Afraid of something." "Afraid?" she sneered, as if I just told the world's funniest joke. "Why would I be afraid?" "You're afraid of the truth," I said, staring directly into her eyes as I slowly raised my work phone. Regina struggled to maintain composure. "What evidence could a stalker like you possibly have? A bunch of sick, secretly filmed pictures?" "Sick." I smiled. "Miss Thorne, you probably don't know this, but to prevent fraud, my company requires us to have a body cam app running during our shifts. It can't be turned off. I have the entire recording of me saving your daughter that night. You say I assaulted her? Well, let's show everyone right now exactly how I assaulted her." I made a move to connect my phone to the big screen. "Stop." Regina's composure finally broke. She shrieked, "Don't you dare try to confuse people with your fabricated video." Dr. Finch immediately jumped in, his voice full of righteous authority. "Everyone, please remain calm. This is a classic criminal tactic. When a suspect is cornered, they will often present meticulously prepared, seemingly exculpatory evidence in an attempt to manipulate public opinion. The more he insists, the more it proves his guilt." His words landed hard. Guests who had started to waver now glared at me with renewed fury. "He's right. Don't listen to him. He's a psycho trying to save his own skin." "Regina, call the police. Let them handle this degenerate," someone shouted. Seeing that she had regained control of the narrative, Regina relaxed. A flicker of triumph danced in her eyes. She looked at me like a bug caught in a spider's web, twitching, but already doomed. "Did you hear that?" she said to the crowd. "The people know the truth when they see it. Now, do you have anything else to say?" I do, I said, meeting her gaze head on. I say your daughter is lying, and the baby she's carrying isn't mine. That sentence hit like a bomb. The gala exploded into absolute chaos. What did you say? Clara's head shot up, tears streaming down her face, a mask of disbelief and anguish. You monster. You ruined my life. And now you're trying to slander me. You're not even human. She sobbed hysterically, nearly collapsing. Regina caught her, turning to the crowd with a look of pure maternal fury. You see this? Do you all see what this animal is doing? To escape justice, he's resorted to this. He is victimizing my poor daughter all over again. The enraged crowd surged forward. Security guards lunged, ready to tackle me to the ground. At that exact moment, the main doors of the ballroom were thrown open. Police. Nobody move. The sharp command froze everything. The lead officer's eyes, sharp as a hawk, swept the room and finally landed on me. Regina and the guard poised to pin me down froze. Panic flashed across Regina's face, but she quickly masked it, stepping forward with practiced grace. Officers, thank God you're here. This monster finally showed his face. We were just about to restrain him before he could hurt anyone else, she cried, pointing at me as if I were already convicted. I ignored her performance and held up my phone as I walked toward the officers. Officer, I'm not a predator. I'm the one who saved her, I said calmly. And I have proof. I turned to Manny, who was still paralyzed with fear. Manny, tell them what kind of person I am. Seeing the police, Manny scrambled to his feet, trembling. He pointed at me, then at Regina, barely able to speak. Leo's a good kid. Everyone at the center knows it. It was this woman. She had her people kidnap me. They beat me up. Regina's face went white. That's ridiculous. You're obviously in on it together. The evidence will show who's telling the truth, I said, handing my phone to the lead officer. This is the complete, unedited footage from my company's mandatory safety app from the night I rescued her. It cannot be altered or faked. Please, I want you and every member of the media here to see for yourself how I supposedly managed to get Ms. Sinclair pregnant. Every camera lens in the room zoomed in on the officer's hand. Regina's pupils constricted. You can't watch that, she shrieked. It's fake. He's a stalker. He's had months to fabricate a video. We'll be the judge of that, the officer said, his voice firm. Experienced and unfazed, he motioned for a technician to connect the phone to the ballroom's projection screen. Regina tried to lunge forward but was blocked by another officer. She could only watch in horror as the screen flickered to life. The video began from the perspective of my e-bike. The sounds of wind and city traffic rushed by. Then the picture shook violently as I ditched the bike and ran toward the riverbank. A faint cry for help could be heard, a splash. It was the sound of me hitting the water. The phone, safe in a waterproof pouch, tumbled with my movements. The lens eventually focused on Clara flailing in the dark water. I swam hard, grabbed her, and began pulling her toward the shore. The only sounds were my ragged breaths and the churning of the water. There were no lewd comments, no threatening actions. Only a desperate rescue. Finally, we reached the bank. I laid her down on the grass. She was unconscious, not breathing. The video showed me, without hesitation, beginning CPR, chest compressions, rescue breaths. Cough. Cough. Finally, Clara choked up a spray of water and slowly came to. The entire ballroom was silent. On the screen, I visibly relaxed, relieved she was alive. I took off my clean, dry dash runner jacket and draped it over her shivering body. Then I turned, walked back to my bike, and rode away. The video ended. The truth was out. After a long, stunned silence, the room exploded. Oh my God, he was saving her. We had it all wrong. He's not a monster, he's a hero. Then why would Regina Thorne lie? That's just evil. The blinding camera flashes turned toward Regina and Clara. Their faces were pale with shock. Regina trembled, but as a seasoned manager, she reacted quickly. She wrapped her arms around the trembling Clara and cried out to the crowd and cameras. Okay, Fina, so he saved her that one time. That doesn't prove he's innocent. My daughter is 3 months pregnant. We have the doctor's report to prove it. The timeline fits perfectly. He obviously used the rescue as an excuse to find out where Clara lived, stalked her, and then found another opportunity to commit his crime. Clara, tell them I'm right. Clara clung to her pregnancy, the single undeniable fact, trying to muddy the waters and escape the fallout from her exposed lie. Through her sobs, she whispered, "It was him. I'm so scared, Mom." The crowd's sympathy now wavered again. The pregnancy hung over me like a shadow. The lead officer frowned. "That's enough. All relevant parties will come with us to the station to give formal statements." At the station, they questioned me, Regina, and Clara in separate rooms. I told everything from beginning to end. When I finished, Regina and her lawyer waited in the hall. She looked at me not with anger, but with condescending pity, like one might look at a condemned man. "Well, kid, you got lucky," she said with a dismissive smirk. "You had one trick up your sleeve, but it doesn't matter. That video only proves you were a hero for 5 minutes. The pregnancy report is black and white. Who do you think the public will believe in the end? A video that can be faked or a certified report from a medical doctor?" "I didn't do it. I want a DNA test," I said. Regina didn't flinch. Her smile widened, oozing confidence. "Fine by me," she said. She even turned to a nearby officer. "Officer, we consent to a DNA test. We want this animal to face the hard evidence and finally give up his lies." Her absolute confidence sent a chill down my spine. Why wasn't she scared? The story blew up. The footage of me saving Clara went viral. Overnight, I went from the internet's most wanted predator to the wrongfully accused hero driver. Social media flooded with support for me, condemning Regina and Clara as manipulative. Many gave interviews vouching for me, sharing the truth about my character. For a moment, it felt like the world was on my side. I thought all I had to do was wait for the DNA results. Dash Runner even had me do a live stream to explain my side to over 1 million viewers, calmly recounting the events and waiting for the test to clear my name. Then, the day the test results came back, everything changed. I was called back to the station. An officer handed me the report, expression unreadable. I tore it open, eyes jumping to the final conclusion. Based on the analysis of the DNA samples provided, the subject, Leo Carter, is supported as the biological father of the fetus carried by Clara Sinclair. My mind went blank. How? How is this possible? The report shook in my hands, the paper rattling loudly. "No, this is impossible. It's fake. The report has to be fake." I yelled at the officer. "Mr. Carter, please calm down," he said, placing a hand on my shoulder. This test was conducted by a certified independent lab. There were no procedural irregularities, he added. I collapsed into a chair. A deathly cold spread through my body. It was over. This time, there was no coming back. Regina and Clara received their copy of the report and immediately called a second press conference. Regina stood at the podium, holding the DNA report high, tears streaming down her face, but with the triumphant air of a victor. "Ladies and gentlemen of the press, the truth is finally out. Science doesn't lie. This is irrefutable proof. That man, Leo Carter, is not just a predator. He's a master manipulator. He staged a heroic rescue to deceive all of you, to paint himself as a hero and escape responsibility for his crime. The depth of his cunning, the depravity of his actions, it's unthinkable." The tide of public opinion turned in an instant. The backlash was 1,000 times more brutal than before. Holy crap, what a twist. The hero was the villain all along. This is terrifying. You really can't judge a book by its cover. I almost fell for it. People like him are worse than obvious monsters. Cancel him. Ruin him. My live stream was chopped up into mocking memes. Every word I had said was reanalyzed as the calculated performance of a sociopath. I became the most hated man in America, the rapist who played the hero. Regina's legal team filed a lawsuit against me for assault, defamation, and emotional distress, demanding a fortune in damages. I had been thrown into the abyss, and this time there was no one left to pull me out. I locked myself in my apartment. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. I just watched the rescue video over and over, trying to understand where it had all gone wrong. How could the DNA be mine? I mentally retraced every second of my contact with Clara that night. The CPR, the rescue breaths. There's DNA in saliva, but not enough for a paternity test. You can't get someone pregnant through mouth-to-mouth. I slowed the video down to 0, then 25x speed, examining it frame by frame, me diving in, pulling her to shore, performing CPR. Wait. Right as I dragged her onto the bank, as her body rolled onto the grass, something small and silver slipped out of the pocket of her oversized dress and fell into the weeds. In the chaos of the moment, I hadn't noticed it at all. I took a screenshot of that single frame and blew it up. It was a cufflink, a unique design, a stylized letter C with a tiny diamond set in the curve. This wasn't something an ordinary person would wear. And the style, it felt familiar. An idea struck me. I went on Google and searched for C initial diamond cufflink. The top result was a news article from a business journal. The photo showed a charismatic middle-aged man giving a speech at a corporate summit. On the cuff of his shirt was the exact same cufflink. The caption read, "Julian Croft, CEO of Astromedia, debuts the first piece from his wife's bespoke jewelry line, Isabel Croft Designs." It was a one-of-a-kind piece designed by his wife personally to celebrate their anniversary. I dug deeper. Astromedia was the management company, the MCN, that represented Clara Sinclair. A horrifying theory crystallized in my mind. Clara was pregnant with Julian Croft's child. Croft was a married man, his wife from a powerful old money family. If the affair came out, he would be ruined. Regina Thorne had orchestrated this entire nightmare. She needed a fall guy. And on that night, the guy who stopped to play the hero walked right into her trap. As for my DNA, I looked back at the video. When I took off my jacket and put it on her, my hair and skin cells would have been all over it. They took my jacket. They had my DNA. Finding a private lab they could bribe to fake a report against a nobody like me would have been child's play. It was a diabolical 2-for-1 scheme. It covered up her daughter's scandal while giving her ultimate blackmail material to use against Julian Croft. Pure evil. I had the truth, but no proof. A blurry screenshot of a cufflink wouldn't be enough to convict anyone. Then I saw it on my screen, an ad for a charity live stream hosted by Julian Croft's wife. A new, incredibly risky plan formed. I looked at my bank account. Just over $1,000 left, next month's rent. With a deep breath, I transferred it all into my TikTok account. I changed my username to "I have proof of your husband's affair." Then I entered Isabel Croft's livestream and dropped the biggest virtual gift they had, a supernova. The day of my trial arrived. I was a citywide joke. The courthouse steps swarmed with reporters and protesters screaming insults at me. Regina and Clara arrived with a security detail, walking in like conquering heroes. Clara's baby bump was now prominent. She cradled it gently, her expression a practiced mix of vulnerability and disgust as she looked at me. Regina leaned close, whispering so only I could hear, "What does it feel to be a dead man walking? Enjoy your time in prison. You could spend the rest of your life repenting in there." I ignored her and closed my eyes, saving my energy. The trial began. Regina's lawyer presented the DNA report as the cornerstone of their case, demanding the judge give me the maximum sentence. Just as the judge was about to accept the report into evidence, I raised my hand. "Your Honor, I object." Every eye in the courtroom turned to me. Regina's lawyer chuckled. "Objection? On what grounds? Are you planning to show us another one of your home movies, Mr. Carter?" "No," I said, shaking my head and looking directly at Regina. "This time, I'd like to call a new witness to the stand." The courtroom doors swung open. A woman of immense grace and power walked in. The moment Regina saw her, the smug smile vanished from her face. Clara gasped and shot up from her seat in terror. The witness was Isabel Croft. "Mrs. Croft, what are you doing here?" Regina's voice trembled. Isabel ignored her, walking directly to the witness stand and handing a folder to the bailiff. Your Honor, her voice calm and crystal clear, I am here to contest the validity of that DNA report. During the same period in question, my husband, Julian Croft, was engaged in an illicit affair with Miss Clara Sinclair. In this folder, I have hotel security footage to prove it. Therefore, I formally request that this court order a new, impartial DNA test be performed on the fetus Miss Sinclair is carrying. The courtroom was utterly silent. Then the press gallery erupted into a frenzy of camera shutters and frantic typing. This was no longer a simple assault case. It had become a national headline involving a corporate titan, adultery, a secret baby, and a massive conspiracy. No, you're lying. That's fake. Regina completely lost control, trying to rush the witness stand before being restrained by court officers. Behind her, Clara looked hollow, as if her soul had been sucked out. Her legs gave way, and she crumpled to the floor, staring blankly at Isabel, then at me, then down at her own swollen belly, mumbling, "No, that's not what happened." The terror in her eyes was no longer an act. It was real. The judge slammed his gavel. Order. Order in the court. He announced the trial was suspended in light of the shocking new evidence. A court-mandated amniocentesis would be performed by the state's most secure forensic lab. DNA samples would be collected from me and from the new person of interest, Julian Croft, to conduct a definitive, unimpeachable paternity test. While waiting for the final results, I told the police everything I had uncovered. My theory, the cufflink screenshot, and the desperate gamble I took by contacting Isabel Croft. Just as I suspected after reaching her during her live stream, Isabel had hired top-tier private investigators. In days, they had uncovered every detail of her husband's affair, giving her ironclad evidence. She chose to detonate the bomb during my trial, not to save me, but to exact the most public, brutal revenge possible for her husband's betrayal. The results of a court-ordered DNA test came back. There were no surprises. Julian Croft was the father. That report was the first domino to fall. Police immediately launched a formal investigation into the lab that produced the fraudulent report. Under pressure, the lab technician confessed. Regina Thorne had paid him $500,000 through a middleman to use the DNA from my jacket and fake the results. The final piece of the puzzle was Clara Sinclair. After learning that her mother had used her and her unborn child as pawns to blackmail Julian Croft, she had a complete mental breakdown. On the advice of her new lawyer, she cooperated fully, giving a confession detailing the entire conspiracy. Her affair with Croft had caused the pregnancy. Croft refused to leave his powerful wife and was terrified of the scandal. That's when Regina devised her plan. She used my heroic act as an opportunity, stole the jacket I'd left on her daughter to get my DNA, and then fabricated a report to frame me as the perfect scapegoat. With me taking the fall, she could cover up her daughter's scandal, while simultaneously using the secret of the baby's true parentage to extort millions from Julian Croft. She had even hired Dr. Finch to publicly create a damning psychological profile to ensure I would be convicted in the court of public opinion long before I ever saw a judge. The whole rotten truth was finally out. The court exonerated me of all charges. Regina Thorne, found guilty of filing a false police report, perjury, and conspiracy to obstruct justice, was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Dr. Alastair Finch had his licenses revoked and was disgraced. Julian Croft was financially annihilated by Isabel in the divorce. Stripped of his wife's connections and fortune, he lost control of Astro Media, which eventually went bankrupt. As for Clara Sinclair, due to her cooperation and evidence of long-term psychological manipulation by her mother, she received a suspended sentence. In a public statement, she gave me a deep, tearful apology. She said she would keep the baby, raise it on her own, and spend the rest of her life atoning for her cowardice. The court also ordered Clara to pay me $1 million in damages, the same amount Regina had once offered as a bounty for my head. After the storm passed, I turned down every interview and influencer offer. I took the settlement money, moved to a different city, and bought a small house, my own place, far from the dark, damp apartment where my nightmare began. I didn't quit my job as a delivery driver, though. I just switched to a different platform with better hours. On a bright sunny afternoon, I put on my clean uniform, got on my e-bike, and rode through the streets of my new city. A new order pinged on my phone. I looked at the address on a map, twisted the throttle, and merged into the flow of traffic. The sky was blue, the breeze warm. I was still just an ordinary guy doing his job. And if I ever saw someone drowning again, I'd still jump in to save them. Because justice might be slow, but it always shows up.